Oh, guys, let's just go. Mother sat
Yes.
across the table, also eating. She seemed to be deep in thought. Mother,
Hmm?
I won't see that boy anymore. If he calls out to me, I'll run until he can't catch me.
I know you will do the right thing, my darling. Have you considered stabbing him?
Hmm, I can try.
You didn't ask for all this, did you, you poor thing? If only your father was a better man. Yeah, I think we see the source.
Yep. Here Rosa pricked up her ears. It was rare to hear Mother talk about father, and even rarer to see her mention him so calmly. All throughout her life, Rosa had wondered about the man whom Mother had fallen in love with. Ugh, it's gonna be weird if it was Guilleme.
Oh,
Now it looks like she had the opportunity to glean a few more rare bits of information. Father, was he good to you? Mother puckered up her lips and appeared to ignore this. I mean, I'm pretty sure she would have said something if it was him, but Rosa
yeah.
decided to risk it and asked another question tentatively. Then again, incubi can change their appearance.
This is true.
Did you love him a lot? Mother's eyes were somewhere far away.
Hmm. I don't know.
No emotion, neither pain nor fondness registered on her face.
But he certainly loved me back then. Maybe. Now, I'm smarter. I know better than to trust men like him. Any man. You, too, will understand when you grow up that people who love you will hurt you the most, and you will only have yourself to blame. For example, me. I've hurt you more than anyone, and you love me more than anyone. It is the perfect example. Our familiar structure is a lesson for your entire life. After all, you gave them permission to rearrange the awnings of your soul. Do not give anyone that permission. Your awnings belong exactly where you place them.
Where I placed them. Rosa nodded, accepting her mother's teachings.
Promise me, darling. When the time comes, and you meet a demon like your father, you'll take revenge for me.
Huh.
Take revenge for me!
Rosa's hands were over her head. She pressed herself into a corner, panting. Also, we never got a single image of Mother. She had
Yeah.
never heard Mother this loud before.
Take revenge.
This one was so loud it rattled around her skull and made her vision blur. Mother, what more do you want? This spell is already... She bent her head down, black spots creeping into the edge of her vision. She was so tired.
You cannot hide anything from me. What is this doubt you are nursing? You are hesitating. You are crafting another spell. You stupid harlot. That filthy Merquis is exactly the kind of monster I have been warning you about. A man. You dare plan behind my back, my ethereal, non-existent back, because I am beyond a physical form?
I just don't want to kill anymore, Mother.
Anymore?
She couldn't help but answer back this time. How could she not? After years filled with love and acceptance, it made her realize all the more how precious life was. The thought of snuffing out somebody else's life sent a detestable shiver through her bones. She had planned on running away from this place, abandoning whatever duty that now fell into her hands. Why was it her duty anyway? She just wanted to take the good memories of this place and taint them no longer. Whatever truth she sought wasn't enough payment for peace. I don't want to. Her voice shook. I don't want to kill him, Mother. I don't want to kill anyone. Please.
Is this cowardice or stupidity?
You fancy him, don't you? You hate him, don't you? She would usually, I think she would be pretty accusatory, so the more fancy him seems more like her.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. You fancy him. Or maybe...
The voice pewtered out into an abrupt, chilly silence. Rosa waited, sweat dripping down her brow.
I knew it. You fancy him, don't you? You filthy whore!
It's not like that, Mother.
Past and present, rinse and repeat. Always, always a selfish little girl.
Rosa was horrified. No, I'm not selfish.
Selfish little girl that loves a murderer more than her own mother.
With that final proclamation, Rosa was struck to the floor. The feeling of fainting was stronger than ever. Alone in the dark, she lay there, panting like a sick dog, waiting for what would come next.
Guilleme killed me. He made me love him. Then he betrayed me. He deserves death. Only you can kill him.
I can't kill him.
It's what I want.
That's not true.
It is.
Is this still Mother?
No, you know it's the killer.
Yeah.
It's Catherine.
Yeah,
Or it's
like...
Mother manipulating, using Catherine's voice. And even if it is Catherine, she may not be a reliable narrator of the events.
Yeah.
So, you're my best friend, Rosa. Friends avenge each other, don't they? My darling daughter. I could always count on you to do the right thing. So kill him. Kill Guilleme. Kill him. Promise me. Make him suffer. Stab him with a knife. Stick a dagger down his throat.
Ugh.
Gouge his eyes out. Take revenge.
Rosa clutched.
Also, for sake of my voicing canon, I did have Ghost or Figment Catherine say Guilleme correctly, which I believe is the indication that she's not actually
Catherine.
Yeah.
Rosa clutched her head so hard she thought her skull would burst. For a long moment she lay as though she were dead. 5 minutes, 10 minutes passed. Then in the middle of the empty room, Rosa's voice rang out as clear as a bell. I understand. Rosa knocked on Guilleme's door, carrying a tray of food. She had been poisoning his meals in small doses for weeks now, taking note of any ill effects it yielded. There had been none. Guilleme was still as fit and healthy as ever. No symptoms at all, even after she had increased the dosage. Either he hadn't eaten anything for a month, or he was immune to poison. Both possibilities were suspect. Rosa knocked again. There was no response from the other side of the door. It may have worked. It was not a total loss, however. She remembered Catherine mentioning how particular Guilleme was with his sleep. Just as she had been about to give up, she had ventured on this hunch. It was true, Guilleme was curiously rather sensitive to sedatives. Rosa had offered rose tea to Guilleme that afternoon under the guise that she had made a new recipe. It had been laced with opium and valerian, sweetened with honey to mask the taste. Whether or not it was the casting of Philia, he had drunk it without second thought. He had retired early that evening. Rosa noted the grogginess visible in his gait. She snuck the master key this evening. Tonight is her night. Rosa pushed the door to his room open. It took a couple of seconds for her eyes to adjust to the darkness. It felt like a different world inside this room. By closing the door, it was as if she had cut herself off from the living. Rosa took an unsure step once she found her bearings. She placed the tray of food on the nearest flat surface, careful not to make any noise. The candle she lit provided little comfort. It seemed to cower from the intimidating blanket of shadows. Rosa heaved. The air felt humid here, the atmosphere almost stale. Now that she was inside and venturing deeper, a sudden impulse to find the door gripped her. She looked back. It seemed farther away. Why was she so anxious? She had been in this room before. It was perfectly normal. Tonight, it was a different story. The room seemed to breathe. Rosa gulped. What a curious word. There was no other way to describe it, though. The flickering shadows made it seem like the walls were respiring around her. The room felt alive. It was asleep, like its owner, but alive. In the dim light of her candle, the carpet looked like flesh. The furnishings were viscera. It didn't feel like she had entered a room at all, but a belly. Something darted in the corner of her eye. Rosa snapped her head. Just a curtain. Rosa let out the breath she had been holding in her chest, aware with every move her body made. She tiptoed toward the canopy. It was perhaps the highlight of the room, an organic monstrosity of red plush and velvet. From afar, it didn't look like a bed at all, but a cage. If the room was a cavern of meat, then this was its heart. Rosa approached. Every muscle in her body was tense. She could see a figure sprawled on the bed, limbs sticking out clumsily. He was lying on his chest, back bare, clothes littering the floor. Guilleme seemed to have fallen into the bed instead of climbing in. One of his arms stuck out from the mattress. His breath was fitful, but slow, a light snore coming from him. What was that? Rosa looked around for the source of the noise, but the room was still. A slow trickle of sweat traced her spine. Did that come from the window? Should she check? Rosa didn't move. Something was in the room with her. She could feel it. She stole a glance at Guilleme. He hadn't moved from the bed. Rosa's ears tried to pick up the faintest noise. It felt like the hours of her staying frozen on that spot, wishing to blend with the darkness. But there was no one there. She had probably imagined it. She took a deep breath and calmed herself down. The sooner she was out of this room, the better. Philia's effect would diminish once the candle died. After that, she might not have another chance. She had to find out more about him tonight. The thought of her goal helped steel her nerves. Where should she begin? She took a step. Rosa darted her head, looking for the source of the skittering noise. Her ears were too sensitive now. She heard every creak and moan in the room. She took a deep breath. Focus. Rosa surveyed everything. There was a book by Guilleme's bedside table. It was only a couple of steps away, but she'd have to come dangerously close to the bed. As much as she could, she'd rather maintain the distance between her and the creature on the bed. Creature. Why did she think that? Perhaps it was the arrangement of the sheets or the shadows playing their tricks, but... Rosa shook her head. Perhaps there was another place to look?
We've come here to gather information. You should check the book.
Rosa sighed. Mother was right. She had to check every source to be sure. She inched herself closer to the bed. The faint candlelight indicated the book was on the bedside was red. It wasn't the journal she had seen Guilleme write in. Rosa tiptoed her way closer. Guilleme's hand dangled mere inches away. She reached her arms towards the book and swiped it noiselessly.
Although there was a noise.
The candle almost went out with her sigh. She backed up from the bed with a book under her arm. Adrenaline surged in her blood. It almost made her smile. Rosa examined her prize. A book in a foreign language. She remembered seeing such thin, obscure characters somewhere. She wasn't sure which country, but it was probably Asian. She flipped the book and saw a piece of parchment folded on one of the pages. A sailing permit for a barge named La Victoria, dated for the end of the month. 2 days from now. It outlined the cargo and the purpose of the trip with no date of return. Traveling?
No. Leaving.
Guilleme was planning to leave. This was a suspicion she had since she started observing him. His sudden aloofness with the town affairs. The secret purchase of a ship. The decrease of servants in his employ. Now it was confirmed.
It's just as well we found this. We must end it tonight before he has a chance to escape.
Although it was a good thing to confirm the suspicion, the fact helped her little. If anything, it just made it even more urgent to find something tonight. She had to continue. Rosa steadied herself and stepped back to the bed. Her hand finally brushed against the wood of the table after some quiet fumbling. She caught sight of something shiny inside the drawer.
Open it, child.
Rosa pulled the drawer open ever so slightly. She peeked inside. Inside was an ornate dagger with a golden hilt, set in with rubies. An old, delicate pattern was carved on its blade. There was heat emanating from it, almost like it was alive, like the rest of the room. She almost missed it in the dim light, but there was also a key in the same cabinet. Ooh. Ooh.
Take the key.
I'm gonna save.
That's my instinct.
I'm gonna save real quick.
Okay.
Save game. Yeah, I feel like...
I saved as well.
I feel like, yeah. I mean, yeah, let's go with key.
Take the key, leave the dagger. I have a bad feeling about that weapon. leave it be.
Rosa agreed with Mother. The weapon was as sinister as it was beautiful. She didn't want to touch it. Rosa took the tiny key in her hand, feeling the cool metal against her palm. She pushed the drawer back. Guilleme shifted. Rosa blew the candle out. She scuttled behind the small table. It barely hit her. Guilleme had changed positions in his sleep. Now his face was in full view and facing her direction. Rosa's heart banged in her chest. It was so loud she was concerned the room might echo the sound and announce her intrusion. Rosa waited for a few minutes before moving. She decided to crouch down, holding the unlit candle close to her chest. Easy now. She shuffled away from the bed in relief. The candle was dead, but her eyes were now well adjusted to the darkness. She could make out a desk in the furthest part of the room.
He must do most of his writing there. There's a huge chance the journal is near.
It wasn't very dignifying, but Rosa decided to crawl towards it. Now that Guilleme's face was in full view, a flutter of the eyelids was all it would take to catch her. It would be better to minimize her risks. She dropped to her knees and placed her palms on the floor. Ugh. She drew back her hand. Was she imagining it? When her palms touched the floor, it felt warm, wet. Her fingers were sucked into the floor as if she touched soft, pulpy flesh. The hallucination was so strong that her nose detected a spray of iron in the air. Her stomach heaved. She rubbed her hand. There was no wetness or blood anywhere. The floor was solid. It must have been her imagination. That's like 3 or 4 times you've said that now.
Yeah.
Rosa touched the floor warily, patting it and pulling on the carpet fibers. And we'll have to see where this leads next time. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yep. Farewell.
Mom, is everything alright?
Oh, this has been Mom. Okay. What? Sorry. Not this time. Next, if there's another mom that appears in this game, then that definitely I'm going to do my version of Maggie Mom. Well, isn't it? Aren't you going to ask?
Now this sounds like Cupid Mom, which means Haru should be running far away and throwing that phone into the water.